Our concern.
In a few moments, the news. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is 8:45. Here's the news, edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. Expressions of interest is to be called for Samananavar Reservoir floating solar power plant. U.S. envoy highlights need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. State Minister says over 160 child abuse cases reported in September. South slashes prices of 4 essential food items. The landslide warning issued in 10 districts has also been extended till tomorrow due to the prevailing heavy showers. The government has taken effective measures to amend the old obsolete laws to suit the current system in the country. BIA welcomes first charter flight with 252 international tourists. News overseas. U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria attacked 13 times in past week. In sports, Matthews likely to play for Sri Lanka in World Cup match against England tomorrow. Local news in detail. Expressions of interest are due to be called for projects pertaining to the construction of a floating solar photovoltaic power plant on the Samananavar Reservoir. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchan Vijayasekara stated accordingly, EOIs will be called from both domestic and international developers for the construction of 2 floating solar power plants, with each generating 100 megawatts of power. The Cabinet of Ministers on Monday, 23rd of October, approved a proposal submitted by the Ministry of Power and Energy to call for resolutions for the construction and execution of proposed solar power plants from those who are interested in following the national procurement guidelines applicable to the implementation of infrastructure facility projects. The relevant approval was given upon the realization of the fact that the construction of floating solar power plants on the surface of reservoirs to generate solar powers is a much more appropriate remedy for countries with limited land. Thus, it was decided that approximately 100 hectares of the Samananavar Reservoir, which is under the purview of the Ceylon Electricity Board, would be used for the construction of the floating solar power plant. The United States has underscored that equal and equitable treatment for all creditors of Sri Lanka is essential in the debt restructuring process. Ambassador of the United States, Julie Chung, stated this during a meeting with the Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandana Veerasinghe, today. She highlighted the need for fairness in the debt restructuring process and pointed out that transparency from every party involved is crucial. Chung assured that the U.S. remains committed to an economic landscape that values fairness, transparency, integrity, and inclusivity, ensuring stability and growth in Sri Lanka. The ambassador congratulated the CBSL chief on reaching a staff-level agreement with the International Monetary Fund earlier this month on economic policies to conclude the first review of the 48-month extended from fund facility supported program. Accordingly, Sri Lanka will have access to $254 million, approximately USD 330 million in financing once the review is approved by the IMF Management and IMF Executive Board. The National Building Research Organization has issued landslide warnings to certain areas in 10 districts. The Level 2 warning has been issued to Haldamulla, Passara, Habutale and Al areas of Badula district. Aliyaguda, Imbulpe, Kolonne, Kalawana, Godakavila, Allapatha, Valigapola, Ratnapura, Balanguda, Kuruvita and Upanayaka divisional secretariats area. This warning will be effective till tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Department of Irrigation said the flood situation in the low-lying areas of the Dilwara River will continue till tomorrow. Director, Hydrology and Disaster Management of the Irrigation Department, Engineer SPC Sugishwar said the water level of the Kirindi Oya, which had risen to the showers yesterday night, has now decreased to normal levels. He added that the capacity of some water bodies may suddenly increase due to heavy showers experienced within a short period of time. Meanwhile, one lane of the Allavalvai road, which was blocked as a result of tree falling and mounds of earth collapsing due to heavy showers in Hunuketia, Randenia, has now been opened for traffic. Deputy Director of the Monragal District Disaster Management Coordinating Unit, A.H. Ravindra Kumar, said the Kuvukana Okampiti Road continues to be blocked due to the falling of a dead tree in the second mile post area. The Hingura Kadua Passar Road has been blocked due to the landslides at 3 places. The Badalkumbara Monragal Road was blocked yesterday night after the tree branch fell in the 11th mile post area. Ravindra Kumar further said that around 20 houses in the Vallavaya Divisional Secretariat were inundated due to the overflowing of the Kirindi Oya, adding that the flood waters have now receded in these areas. The Department of Mineralogy predicted showers or thunder showers at several places in most provinces of the island after 1 p.m. The department predicted fairly heavy showers of about 50 mm in the Sabaragamulla province and in the Gola and Mathura districts. The landslide warning issued in 10 districts has also been extended till tomorrow due to the prevailing heavy showers. The landslide warning were issued to several divisional secretariats in the Badulla, Hambantota, Mathura, Ratnapura, Gaul, Kalutara, Kandy, Kagala, Kurunegala and Nuwara districts. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. Lanka Satasa on Wednesday, the 25th of October, announced the price reduction of 4 essential food items. Accordingly, the following price reduction will be effective from today, the state-owned corporation said. Samba rice, 222 rupees per kilogram, reduced by 6 rupees. Chickpeas, 549 rupees per kilogram, reduced by 6 rupees. Dal, 295 rupees per kilogram, reduced by 5 rupees. Red rice, 169 rupees per kilogram, reduced by 3 rupees. Minister Manusha Naikar said the government has taken effective measures to amend the old obsolete laws to suit the current system in the country. The government plans to introduce people-friendly laws to take the country forward. This will also help the country to face the challenges successfully. Sri Lanka has been identified a country with many laws in the region. The minister also emphasized the government is focusing on implementing few selecting laws which will help the country to overcome many socio-economic challenges. The minister made these remarks at a media conference held at Presidential Media Center today. The minister also emphasized the importance of changing the system of the country. Small countries like Sri Lanka will have to depend on the IMF to revive this stalled economy. Accordingly, the country has done well in the recent past to improve the economy, the minister added. A total of 168 girls aged under 16 have reportedly been sexually abused in the country within the month of September 2023, State Minister of Women and Child Affairs Geeta Kumar Singh revealed. Speaking to the media in this regard this afternoon, the State Minister noted that of 168 cases of abuse, 22 of them resulted in child pregnancies. Thus, the State Minister urged Sri Lanka's police department to take strict actions in this regard. and further called for the highest possible punishment to be meted out to those found guilty of such crimes. She further requested all parents, school teachers and principals to remain vigilant and protect their children from potentially falling prey to such attacks, highlighting that most of the time children were often abused by a close family member, someone in their own home. The State Minister noted that while discussions pertaining to these growing concerns are due to be held with the President, measures have already been taken to introduce new act pertaining to the protection of women and children. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Minister of Water Supply and State Infrastructure Development Jeevan Thunderman emphasized that there are no plans to increase the water tariffs. Instead, the ministry is diligently working on implementing a water tariff formula set to roll out in January 2024, he said. He assured the public that following the water tariff hike in August 2023, there will be no further increases. The focus is now on developing a cost recovery formula, a collaborative effort with the Water Board and Asian Development Bank project, an integral part of the policy-based sub-program. This sub-program aims to contribute $100 million to the centralized budget upon completion, he said. Minister Thunderman addressing the news briefing at the Presidential Media Center yesterday under the theme Collective Path to Stable Country clarified the government's stance on water tariffs and announced initiatives to support the upcountry community. He refuted the recent rumors speculating about the current formula's intention to guarantee fair water access while safeguarding those in vulnerable segments of society. These individuals are beneficiaries of the social welfare programs such as Samruddhi and Aswasma, and this speculation is seen in light of the upcoming elections. The minister emphasized that notably of the approximately 2.96 million connections within the water board, the state sectors are excluded as they fall under the Rural Community Water Supply Department. This department extends its services not only to the state community but to all rural areas, working closely with 5,000 community-based organizations. Therefore, the water tariff in question applies exclusively to water board consumers. That came to you on Main News Story.
The Main News Story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the number of dengue cases in several areas of the Western Province and in the Kandy district of the Central Province has increased. The National Dengue Control Unit says most of the breeding grounds for mosquitoes have been identified around schools and religious places in many areas. Director of the National Dengue Control Unit, Dr. Nalin Aryaratna said 66,652 dengue cases have been reported in Sri Lanka so far this year. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, headlines first. U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria attacked 13 times in past week. Prabowo files to run in Indonesian presidential election. U.S. calls for humanitarian pauses in Israeli strikes on Gaza. World news in detail. The U.S. Defense Department says the country's bases in Iraq and Syria have been attacked by Iranian proxy groups at least 13 times from October 17th to 24th. Pentagon Press Secretary Pat Ryder told reporters on Tuesday that the attacks occurred at least 10 separate times in Iraq and 3 separate times in Syria via a mix of one-way attack drones and rockets. According to U.S. television network NBC, the U.S. Central Command said that 20 U.S. personnel sustained major injuries in the drone attacks on the base in southern Syria last week. Indonesia's Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto and his running mate have registered for a presidential election scheduled for February. They signed up on Wednesday, the final day of the registration process, setting this stage for a three-way race. Prabowo will be contesting the presidency for a third time. He narrowly lost to current President Joko Widodo in 2014 and 2019. U.S. leaders are calling for humanitarian forces in Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip to allow for international aid to reach civilians, but they say they oppose a general ceasefire. Palestinian authorities say the number of people killed in the bombardments has risen to nearly 5,800, and about 40% of the victims are children. Hamas also continues to fire rockets at Israel. So far, 1,400 Israelis have been killed, most of them in the initial attack on October 7th. Hamas is still helping 220 people hostage. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria attacked 13 times in past week. Prabowo files to run in Indonesian presidential election. U.S. calls for humanitarian pauses in Israeli strikes on Gaza. That ends world news.
Development news.
The Bandar Naika International Airport welcomed the first charter flight of this series of charter flights operation of the lot of all these airlines today operating from the Czech Republic with 252 international tourists arriving in Sri Lanka, the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka said. These charter flights, which will be operated till March 26th of 2024, are organized in collaboration with SEDOC of the Czech Republic, Sri Lanka Tourism and Jetwing Travels. Haley's Aviation is the general sale agent in Sri Lanka for Latvalis Airlines. That came to you on Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Cricket news. Experienced Angela Matthews is likely to get the green light from the World Cup Technical Committee to be added to the Sri Lankan cricket squad in place of Mathisa Pathiran, yesterday said an official of the Sri Lanka team during the team training session held at the M.A. Chinnaswamy Cricket Stadium in Bangalore yesterday. The match between Sri Lanka and England will be played tomorrow at the Bangalore Cricket Grounds as a day and night encounter. The match will start at 2:15 p.m. local time. That ends sports news.
Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Moving on to business news, HNB Assurance plc archived a remarkable milestone by clinching the coveted Best of Sri Lanka award at the 37th Annual International ARC Awards, recognized as the world's largest and most prestigious competition for annual reports held in New York. This significant achievement underlines the company's commitment to excellence in corporate reporting. The annual International ARC Awards honored organizations worldwide for their exceptional annual report publications, setting the benchmark of annual reports. HNB Assurance recognition of the all-encompassing the Best of Sri Lanka award, spanning across every sector, resonated with the very essence of its annual reports theme. Above all, we rise, underscoring the company's relentless pursuit of excellence and our ability to surpass every challenge. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න. The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the 8th edition of the Boat and Marine Show 2024, organized by the Chamber of Marine Industries of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka Export Development Board in association with the Ministry of Industries, Tourism Promotion Bureau and other relevant stakeholders, will be held from the October 27th to 29th at the Port City Marina Colombo. The boat and shipbuilding industry has earned $67 million this year up to August and expected to increase this amount significantly by next year with initiatives by the EDB in the fields of supply chain development, technology upgradation, and local and international promotion. Further, the industry has showed significant growth and this provides its ability to diversify and access new market destinations such as Singapore, Maldives, Japan, Netherlands, and African region. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says except for northern and eastern provinces, showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the other provinces of the island after 1 p.m. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 mm, likely to some places in Sub-Regional province and in Gol, Matra, and Kalatra districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in central Sub-Regional and Uva provinces during the morning hours. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by the temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thundershowers. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. That ends weather report. To wrap up the night news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Expressions of interest is to be called for Samaran Reservoir floating solar power plant. U.S. envoy highlights need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. State Minister says over 160 child abuse cases reported in September. South slashes prices of 4 essential food items. The landslide warning issued in 10 districts has also been extended till tomorrow due to the prevailing heavy showers. The government has taken effective measures to amend the old obsolete laws to suit the current system in the country. BIA welcomes first charter flight with 252 international tourists. News overseas, U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria tagged 13 times in past week. In sports, Matthews likely to play for Sri Lanka in World Cup match against England tomorrow. With that, we wrap up the night news on Radio Sri Lanka. Back to my good friend and yours, Ramesh Peris.